Welcome to Real Easy Cooking with Robert. I'm Robert, and this is
Ed.
And today we're making pot roast. We're turning all of this into food. You excited?
Yeah!
Yeah? Alright, well let's first start with the meat because that's the most important part of pot roast. We have any chunk of roast meat. The cheapest, the better. This is really something where you want to take just the cheapest meat you can. This is top sirloin, so it's pretty lean. And we have to brown it first, so we're going to put it here on the stove. Since it's pretty lean, we're going to add a little bit of oil. And this is, I don't know, grapeseed oil because it's slightly healthier than olive oil. I'm using cast iron because cast iron will hold the heat longer, and we're really trying to brown the meat just on the edges.
The meat is a little bit brown.
If you don't brown the meat, it will taste kind of gross in the pot roast and it'll be all gray looking.
It's all kind of brown.
No, that's red. Meat, that's red meat. It's yummy.
There's some actual red on the sauce.
Alright, so we heat up the pan. Watch when we get the pan hot. Guess I should have done this beforehand. Do you know how you can tell when the pan is getting hot?
No.
The oil. See how I do this and you watch the oil drip from one side to the other?
Yeah.
The speed in which the oil moves across the pan and the thickness of it tells you how hot the pan is.
That's pretty thick.
And it's getting thinner, but yes, you can still see the lines and it's getting thick. And we want to heat it just before it starts to smoke. And when it heats up some, the oil will also start to separate into a pattern.
What?
Yeah. Okay, here you can just see the pattern in the oil. Can you see that? There's a pattern shape. That's because the burner underneath makes slightly colder spots, and so the oil separates. And that separating lets you know that the pan's getting hot. Okay. Now, we have to put the meat in the pan and brown it.
Pretty juicy.
We start on the sides, and the best way is just to hold it upright and let it stick and burn. Yes, you do get splattered some. You do have tongs because this one is splattering a lot. Did not use the splatter screen because it's too tall, so yeah, wife's going to be mad at the mess this is going to make. You find that funny, huh?
Now that's browned meat.
Getting there.
The bottom is totally brown.
And just add a slight browning. I'll brown it some more on that side too. It was just starting to stick on the pan. I had to move it real quick. So the carrots, first thing to do with carrots is to cut the top off. We're going to cut them a little taller because you wanted to replant them and see them grow. So
yeah.
So we'll save you a little extra carrot on these ones, which is about an inch or so. Which is all it should take. Save the top inch or so, and we'll put that in water, and these will grow into whole new carrots.
Maybe. Last one just got soggy and
okay, then you gotta snip off the bottoms. And then you yeet those.
Yeet those.
Take the other one, snip off the bottoms. Yeet them.
One is on the floor.
Yeah. Yeet.
Can I pick up one that's on the floor?
And yeet.
Can I pick
Now,
up one
we
that's
take
on
the-
floor?
It's just about time to flip the meat. See, it's starting to smoke a little bit. And I wish I had hot pads. That's what you want to do to the meat. You want to add, here you go, Ed. See? You want
Yeah.
to add some browning to the meat. That will add a lot of flavor later on. Carrots take a long time to cook, so they should go at the bottom of your pot roast. You come into large chunks, like that, or smaller even. If you like them smaller, but I find if you come too small, then they get mushy when you cook them. So large chunks, they're easier to fish out of the bottom. Throw them in the bottom of the pot first, like little logs. You just arrange them in there.
Like Lincoln logs.
Yes. Okay. Let me get this out of the way. Pull this a little bit closer so y'all can see.
I want to see.
Check on the meat. Still browning. We have it running on absolute high. As hot as it can run for the stove. Put celery on top. Cut the base off. You want to grow some celery too?
Yep.
There we go. We won't yeet this then. We'll save that. The tops, cut them off.
Yeet 'em. Oh, it's
Well,
up.
yes and no. See, here's where you can, if you make soups, these are great for flavor. I don't make soups, but this also contains, between the top leaf and the end, a lot of celery. So you pull back the two leaves, put the knife in right underneath, cut it, and then snip off the top.
And that's how we say.
And that way you can save and use all of the useful food that you
Yep,
paid
and
for.
don't yeet it all.
Well, I'll show you what we, after we're done with this, we're going to yeet the greens. If you got pet rabbits, they might eat these, or nature or something, I don't know. Garden,
Yeah.
compost. I don't do any gardening.
Every time we have someone,
Too lazy
we
for that.
put the bottom
All right,
in
so
water.
You
Just
take
like
these, the tops that we don't need,
Little
and
bit.
we eat them.
a little bit of the yummy put fell on the ground.
The celery hearts are also good for soups, but I'm not making any soups, so they're gone. These tops, gotta cut them off, and this one's a little long. We'll whack it.
Correct. Fun.
And that's how you get rid of a hunk of celery. There. That side is done. That's what you want it to look like. Yes, it kind of looks overdone, burnt, and hard, but once it soaks in the crock pot, this brown is going to add a lot of flavor and it's going to become soft. So there'll be no hard parts in the meat. All right, celery, same as the carrots.
Yeah.
We want to cut it into chunks that are amazingly about the same size as the tops were. Which is about, cut these in half because these are kind of a small stalk of celery. And bam, there's celery.
Bang.
we put celery on top of the meat. You'll see.
Here comes the meaty. Here comes the meaty.
Here I'm just burning the sides a little bit. Or caramelizing them, browning them. The proper words. I guess I'm not burning them. But we both know it's kind of like burning them.
All of us know.
What do you think of all the smoke that comes off of this? If we had an oven vent, we'd turn on and blow the smoke outside. I guess we could open the windows if it wasn't like super hot outside or super cold outside. Alright, this is good. So we turn it off and we put it in the crock pot. Just drop it right down in the middle.
Meaty.
Drop it right down in there. Now,
There's
here's where,
the meat.
depending on the size and shape of your meat, sometimes I put it upright, sometimes I put it horizontal, sometimes they're more round. This one should fit upright, which means I can pack more potatoes in around the edges. I like these little red potatoes.
Packing potatoes.
If you don't have the little red potatoes, you can use big normal potatoes and cut them into like quarters. Now we're going to throw some celery on here because that'll add some flavor.
I'll just take my celery and squeeze it to put zoo.
That's
on
gross.
My food.
So we do that.
I don't think so.
Now we want to add 2 more ingredients. We add some beef stock. You can just buy this at the store. Or you can make it if you cooked a lot of beef and beef juice and stuff. We don't want to add much. It's like about a cup.
Beef zoo.
About like that. If
That's what I
it turns out to be too much, we can scoop some out later on. It also becomes great for gravies and everything else. And then we want to add some pepper. A lot of pepper because it's going to cook and cook and cook. This is a great meal to make when you have to cook dinner, but you have to go to work or school or someplace else for the entire fucking day. What you can do is turn this on, basically set it and forget it. I know it seems like a lot of pepper, but there's a lot of potatoes in there, and potatoes absorb a lot of flavor. So we plug in the crock pot. We put the lid on.
What else do we do?
The lid locks down on here. Leave that alone. This one, you turn it on, pick how you want to do it. Program, manual, probe. That's what you picked up earlier for temperature. I know it comes in high and medium and just keeping it warm. You should never cook on just keeping it warm. It won't get hot enough to kill bacteria. Just put on high. And high if you're going to eat it in about 4 to 6 hours. Low if you want to cook it for 8 to 10 hours. The longer you cook it, the softer the meat will be because it breaks down all the cartilage and stuff inside of it. All the ligaments and everything else. Connective tissue. So we set this on, we turn it on. The trick is don't open it. If you open it, it lets all the heat out and it takes another half hour for them to warm up. So that's why they have a clear top, so you can just look at it and see how it's doing. It'll take about 6 to 8 hours. Now, if it gets too full of water, because all the vegetables will give off water, we'll just scoop some out and we'll come back then and see how it looks, okay? But this is dinner for tonight. I'm excited. I love this for dinner. How about you? Yeah? All right, well. Okay, it's been many hours now. The length of time that you have to cook a pot roast depends on the thickness of the roast, how quick and hot your slow cooker gets, and what temperature you cook it at. This one has a high and a low setting. So at high, I find it takes about 4.5 hours. At low setting, it takes about 6 to 8 hours. That actually, the slower and lower you cook it, the better it tastes. But this one is done now. It's been enough hours, so let's take the lid off. You can see it's all steamy and bubbling and yumminess. So we can move some of that, and if possible, I will get the meat out. But as you can see, it just breaks right apart. You don't even need a knife. It's literally, I mean, to say it's fork tender is insane. You can say it's like the back of fork tender. So we can put that on the plate. Now, some people will add, and we put some potatoes and a piece of celery, even though you don't like celery, Ed, I know that. But we do have your cooked carrots at the bottom, which they were at the bottom where they stayed in constant juice, so they cooked better. And we put those in there. Now, some people will just add some butter to the potatoes and salt and pepper to the vegetables. While I do like salt and pepper for the vegetables, there's a better solution for potatoes than butter. And it's what the plate was already cooked in. We want some of this juice. This is nectar of the gods. You take your little thing, you suck up some of that fat juice. And put it right on your potatoes, right on your meat as extra gravy. You're more like an au jus than a gravy because it's not super thick. Here, when you have it like that, then we add just a little salt, a little pepper. As it sits here for a few minutes, the potatoes will absorb some of the juice, and so will the meat. Do you want to try some of this?
No.
Try some of the meat.
Not really.
How about some carrot? Want to try the carrot?
It's hot.
Well, it cools down quick.
No, it doesn't.
But as it is, this is real easy cooking with Robert and Ed, and we are done. Enjoy.
Enjoy. Can I juice some juice?
You want to juice some juice onto the plate? Okay, juice some juice. You put in and squeeze some of that. I'll suck up the juice and put it over here and let it drain out. Squeeze it and it squirts out. There you go. That's plenty. That's plenty. That's plenty. Well, now I have soup. All right.
I did that on purpose.
Oh, I'll wait till I plate up your bowl next.